and welcome to Press Preview. I'm Helena Leslie, here with James Beeson and Sarah Gough, the editors of Exeposé. So your main headline is about the library taking away academic books for more study space. Can you tell me a little bit more about this?
Yeah. So yeah, our main story this week is lecturers versus librarians. You know, the big debate, the big fight. Who's going to win? You know, that's something we need to see. You know, a boxing match. No, there's been a bit of concern from academics about the new library's plans. The library's new plans for refurbishment. They're thinking of adding more study space, but in order to do this, they're cutting shelf space for books.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's another one of those stories that it depends which way you look at it, because obviously the university is continuing to expand, rising student numbers, and that's something we're possibly not necessarily in favour of, but we can understand why the library are removing some replica books or books which haven't been read for a very long time in favour of digital copies, so that there's more space for students to study on campus, basically.
So your other headline is about animal testing. You know, animal welfare has been up in arms about this, and what's this all about?
Yeah, I'll just be very clear and say it's not testing; it is research. The university have been very clear to us about that. Yeah, the animal research is going to increase on campus, so more animals are going to be observed for research purposes. Despite animal welfare SOC's, decision to up transparency on this and try and prevent it happening further, there is going to be an increase. And we've got a few strongly worded comments from PETA, who are a national animal welfare organisation, saying that the university are backwards in their.
I think archaic was the word that was used. Archaic.
Yeah. So I think there's a massive debate here about whether it's ethical or not. And the university is saying they're putting animal welfare first. But is this really something we need to be continuing to increase, or should we be dropping numbers of animals being held on campus?
And of course it links back into the university's expansion as well, because as student numbers increase, as the number of people on campus increase, the number of animals being held on campus is increasing as well.
So related to using animals on campus, I know there was an article written about micropigs and whether using them to relieve stress is cruel. What do you think about this?
Yeah, so we had, I think it was Leanne from the Animal Welfare Society who wrote us an article about the micro pigs which were being used by Rachel Gillies to de-stress students on campus. So the first thing we wanted to find out, we just wanted to double check that they were actually micro pigs, because after Puppygate in January, I think it was important for us to just double check. But it turns out they were actually micro pigs, although rather large ones, I would say. But Leanne had some concerns that the micropigs were perhaps being intimidated or scared by the large numbers of students that were surrounding them on campus. But I think it's a difficult one again, because obviously the intentions are there. I think it's a good thing to do to try and help students de-stress. And I think the Guild we were talking about, the Guild have been pretty good in terms of handing out free fresh fruit on campus this week to help people deal with exam stress. But at the same time, obviously, you've got to make sure that animals aren't being treated unfairly, aren't intimidated or scared by large student numbers surrounding them.
So you have quite a lot of comments from different editors of people sending in subjects that you've had about the animal testing. And I know you also had one about first past the post. Obviously, this is very topical just after the general election. Can you tell me a little bit about the article that was written?
Yes, so we've got an article in Features this week. Obviously, in light of the Conservatives winning a majority government, there's been a lot of uproar, especially among students and young people who are, by definition, normally more left-wing liberal-leaning. The Tories out now protests and just the questioning of our current electoral system, really. So we've got an article in Features from Thomas Collins, who's actually UKIP president, talking about how UKIP have been affected in this election due to the current electoral system, that they should have won more seats under first past the post, and the same for the SNP, they should have probably won less seats under first past the post. So I think it's just an interesting one to see a point of view from someone who UKIP are generally demonised as this sort of right-wing party, but he has given a fairly balanced article.
Yeah, and I think just looking at the numbers as well, 4 million votes for UKIP and one seat in comparison to 1.5 million votes for SNP and 56 seats. So that does give a very strong impression that, kind of electoral reform really should be happening. I think it's totally unrepresentative, our current system. And Thomas really sort of connects in with that well, and it presents a really concise and strong argument.
So you can see in the tampon article that you have made real change. Exposé is actually creating change on campus. Yes.
I was just going to say, we'd up the revolution, you know. No, I think we've got an article in News this week about the tampon tax, which has been a great thing that the Guild have done this year. They're going to subsidise tampons on campus. Why should we pay to have a uterus? You know, it's not a luxury good. But there was actually a little discrepancy in the pricing, and the marketplace were pricing things cheaper than the Guild, despite a lot of advertising claiming otherwise. But no, we noticed this, and one of our music editor, actually, Katie Costello, noticed this.
A woman of many talents.
A woman of many talents. Yeah, and within an hour of the Guild, you know, hearing this from us, they have actually price matched tampons on campus. So I think it's just nice to see that as a newspaper, we're not criticising for the sake of it. We are criticising, you know, to make some sort of good change, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it was only about 18p, but it's the principle. It was the principle. It's the principle that matters.
So a couple of other stories you have are about Yik Yak, Kylie Jenner, Jay-Z. What do you think about using celebrities in a student newspaper? What do you think it adds?
Well, obviously, the purpose of our banner down the bottom of our front page is to get people to pick up the paper and read it. So we wanted to put kind of like big names on the banner. I mean, obviously, it's a shame we couldn't get an interview with Jay-Z. That would have been fantastic. But I think this week, Kylie Jenner, there's an article on cultural appropriation, which is really well written from Eamon, one of our deputy editors, and also the review of Jay-Z's streaming service. So I think it's just important to kind of like so people can recognise and they think, oh, I'd quite like to read that, you know. And it's the next best thing if you can't get an interview, really, I would say.
And Exeter's yak game is now infamously strong across the country. So, you know, we really wanted to bring that into the forefront this week and analyse Exeter's yik yak game.
Are there any other stories that you particularly enjoyed writing, or anything other we should know about Exposé this week?
Yeah, so we were waiting all week on a press release and finally got it on about Friday, about midday. The developments that you may have seen down on Prince of Wales Road, where the cricket pitch is, basically there's going to be some new private student accommodation being built there. It's nothing to do with the university, it's totally private, but obviously it involved the demolition of the cricket pavilion, which is a bit of a shame. It's been open since 1902, sort of a historical part of Exeter, but I think the good side of that is that it has secured the future of Exeter County Cricket Club. They can play there rent-free, and as part of the developments, they're also building a new state-of-the-art pavilion. And that should be, the pavilion I think is going to be open in December, and the new student accommodation is going to be finished in June 2016, so that's one to keep an eye out for.
Thank you very much for talking to us today. It's been great to learn all about Exposé. This has been Press Preview. I'm Helena Leslie with James Beeson and Sarah Gough, the editors of Exposé. Go and pick up Exposé this week on campus or read it online.